when I started applying to it, I got a call from other companies, some other startups from MNCs, all those. And PayPal was actually the last company to get me the offer. First interview round was actually about the JavaScript. It was more about the JavaScript and the React, bouncing and throttling. Like you tell something about it, and they will counter question you with something else, right?
So in the file manager that you're talking about, was there an expectation that you have to build using vanilla JavaScript or you can use React? What was the expectation exactly over here?
There is a difference. Working with a company and interviewing for the company.
Okay. Hello everyone. Today we have a very special guest, Adit from PayPal, and previously has worked with many companies like Public Sapient, right? In this video, we are going to discuss about the front-end interview process at PayPal and obviously from his experience from the different companies. So not just limited to that. We are also going to cover the myths around just cracking interviews is enough in order to keep on growing in the company, right? So that is what we are going to cover. We are also going to talk about the roles and responsibilities and the challenges he has faced basically in his daily day-to-day job basically after cracking the interviews, right? So with that, without further delay, let me call Adit on the stage and where we'll get started with a lot of eye-opening discussion. So
Hey,
hey
hi
Adit,
Chirag.
how are you doing?
Hi Chirag. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for having time and coming up and basically sharing your knowledge with the audience, guys. This is really helpful for everyone who is watching this.
Thanks for having me, Chirag.
Okay, so with that, why don't we start with a quick brief introduction of your like talking about your experiences and lot more.
Sure. Aditya Sharan here. I'm working currently as a SD2 at PayPal. So I'm currently holding an experience of nearly 4 years. So I've been working with Publisher Sapient in the past and a fintech company known as Finestra. So that's all and I started my career as a front-end developer only. So it's been
Oh,
in the front end.
awesome. Awesome. I can see you have like 4 years of experience almost in the front end and you have worked. So what I can recall, even the public shipment is very heavy on the front end side where people get to work on a lot of tech stack and the opportunities also. So I can definitely see that you have grilled down into many of these, you can say interviews, rounds, and you are bringing a lot of experience to the audience.
Yes, yeah, Chirag. So we're looking forward to that. I'll discuss it, each and everything about
Awesome.
it.
So why don't you talk
So
about your current company like PayPal? You cracked the interview, right? So how did you actually
yes.
started with the process? How did you end up into the getting the offer? And how many actually interview rounds you have faced basically in PayPal?
So it actually started, quite a long time back when I went is basically a service-based company where it what happens is you get to work with the clients, right? So they you actually work with on the contract basis, right? So the contract was getting over, and in the layoff season, you might be aware that if you are on delivery pool or known as bench also. So there could be a problem, right? So I started preparing for front-end interview back in April only. So I started applying to the companies using LinkedIn, Twitter, and Naukri.com. So anything for that matter, I was actually applying to it. So when I started applying to it, I got a call from other companies, some other startups from MNCs, all those. And PayPal was actually the last company to get me the offer. So my notice period was about to get over, on which I got the offer from PayPal. So that's how the PayPal thing happened.
So seems
And
like you had multiple offer letter when you joined the PayPal.
yes, I have.
So obviously, I
And
won't
I'll
ask you
talk
to
about,
reveal.
yeah.
I won't ask you explicitly reveal those, but maybe you can tell about the count. Maybe.
I had four offers with me.
Awesome,
Uh,
man. Awesome. You have a buffet in front of you. You have to pick and choose the best one which suits you. Yeah. Awesome.
Correct. So that was there, and there were many companies. These companies were like, I actually applied for like 30 plus companies, where there are some companies which are big enough in the product based companies where I interviewed for UI based role. So I can talk about more on the, what are the technical rounds they actually have and what kind of questions they ask. I'll start with PayPal only.
Sounds
Uh,
fair. Sounds fair. I think let's grill deeper into that. Like, what are the different rounds that you have faced, and probably what are the common questions, popular questions that you have faced, so that people who are actually applying and trying for that, they get a gist of like direction and what are the key factors that they should prepare for.
okay, sure. So the first question, the first interview round was actually about the JavaScript. It was more about the JavaScript and the React. It was more about the things that we see in it was basically the JavaScript basic questions like infinite currying, the closures, this keyword output based questions were there, and set interval, set timeout, and some advanced questions like about debouncing and throttling. What is event loop, or the difference between the arrow function and the regular function. So these were there. These were the questions for the first round, and this was all about the JavaScript part. So when it comes to React, they actually told me about the basic questions in React, like what is React, what is it, and what is hooks, what is known as components, what is the difference between a React element and the React node. Okay, and they made me do a small machine coding round in which I was about to I have to code on the code sandbox infinite scrolling app using observable API. So that was about that round. So that actually happened. It took me around like 1 hour 10 minutes. It went through,
Okay.
and that's how it happened. And
Okay.
then recruiter came back.
Wanted to touch upon before you go and talk about your offer letter, which everyone is waiting for, obviously, which is basically when you actually had this interview discussion round, what was the expectation? Like, seems like many of these questions are like theoretical kind of question, right? When we are talking about differences and whatnot, or probably that set timeout
Yes.
related or debounce. Are those the expectation was you to come code along with the interviewer, or basically it is like you just tell about the concept and what now how the basically things work? What kind of expectation was there in the interview basically?
So in JavaScript round, it was the expectation was always about the discussion. Like you tell something about it, and they will counter question you with something else, right? So that was that's how the JavaScript goes. But when it comes to React, it was all about the machine coding that you need to have a perfect code running
Got it.
up there.
So basically, in your
Yes,
first JS round, which was first interview, most of the time, person wanted to grill down in order to understand how much deeper knowledge and what the diverse knowledge that you have, basically in your JavaScript and the React side of the world, and what kind of thing that you might have done. Probably that was a high level expectation.
correct,
Awesome. And in the
correct.
second
That was
round,
the
which
highlight.
you went into, that was into you come code and build some working application. That was the expectation.
Yes. So the next round was basically about the system design round,
Oh, awesome.
where so it was the expectation from that round was it was pretty much low LLD only, low level design, where I actually need to code and have a runnable thing over there. So I made to design a folder structure, like whatever we actually see, like if you go to the VS Code, there is a folder structure. When you click on that, it actually opens up, and then there are files and folders. So something like to come up with that idea. So there will be like how the data will be coming up. You need to think about how what will be the schema structure. It is coming from a JSON. I was thinking about something like that, and there will be a event listener on each div, whatever div what div we are clicking it up, and then the files and photos are coming up. So that's, and there was another question about we actually need to design a decoupled input component. So in
Okay.
that sense, like everything is coming from props. Like it could be text, number, it could be password, could be anything, right? And if you want to validate also, if you want to make it a control input, like all the validations that is coming along, that function also has to be passed through props. So how would you design that? So that was mainly about it was a high level discussion. That's how I do. That's how I do that. But the file, the making the file design, the file structure was basically the ILD. So that's how it goes.
Got it. Got it. So in the file manager that you're talking about, was there an expectation that you have to build using vanilla JavaScript or you can use React? What was the expectation exactly over there?
I can use React in that because I can think in React, and the logics was pretty much
Okay.
make.
So people were open enough in order to use any of the technology. It's just
Yes,
that the final outcome is something that matters. Awesome, awesome. I think that
yes.
is awesome. So what? So on top of it, was there any DSA round also basically in this?
Uh, Considering the front end development, I have actually never faced that kind of a DS around, where trees and graphs questions are getting asked. Even I have given interviews in as well, but it is not exactly the DSA. I would say there are the ad hoc questions, like you need custom sort, you need to write the
Mhm.
polyfills, you need to have a great grips on the things that actually matter in the development, like you have a map filter, you have reduce. So those things, how you can do that, the string traversal and the manipulations, how you can do that, how you can do the deeply nested object traversal, how you can do that, and how there was one more question that how you can generate OTP with a lot of the 6-digit OTP that you need to generate, where it could be consisted of letters and numbers. You have to convert time 12 hours time format to 24 hours. So something like that. Those questions will be there.
Got it.
You actually need to.
So basically, you are saying you don't have to go into the FOMO of data structure as such, which is being there in the market on internet. Basically, it's more about if you think about and work upon the practical implementation of the problem solving that you get into the front end domain while working. Most of the questions are going to be around that, not as in all together the toughest problem that we know about try data structure and this and that probably.
Yes, yes. So
Oh,
that was
awesome,
where.
awesome. Actually, I think many of the people may be waiting in order to listen that, dude, I should focus on that core, which is tech side of thing, or the DSA when I wanted to get into the front. I think you have helped many of the people to save their butts. Okay, with that. So, what happened after that? Like your interview went off, like you went through the two technical round. Then what happened?
Yes. So then HR called me up about the third round, where there will be a managerial round will be there, which was basically about the discussion. What kind of work that I'm doing in publisher statement, and what are they expecting me to come with, and what I'll be working at PayPal. So it was more of a discussion. That I'm working on this, I'm working on X, Y, Z, and they are working on ABC, something like that. So would I be able to, am I okay to transition from this to this?
Got it. So
So that's
mostly
all
around
about it.
the
So
alignment of the things that stack the kind of work that you have done and what is the expectation in the current project are both are aligned with the ultimate goal of the company and the project basically. Got it. So do you see, I just wanted to
yes,
understand, so while talking about your past project and whatnot, do you see presenting those things in a high level design or you can say system design to a manager when you are discussing could play a very important role where person get to know, oh, this person has a very deep understanding of the existing or the past system. What do you feel? Like just talking about what I'm doing directly straightforward into the feature or talking about more high level design of your existing system can play a better role. What do you think in hiring manager round happens?
I think, yeah. So that's how I actually started. So one should actually start from a very high level design, because sometimes it happens that managerial round would be something somewhere about 30 to 45 minutes, and you need to actually talk about a lot of things.
Mhm.
So if you could just tell your manager that this is what I have done, this is what I have done, and just the high level feature that you have implemented over there, and this is what it is. So that would work. So that's how
Awesome.
I
Then
actually.
after, alright, that is awesome. That is awesome. So once you had this HM round, hiring manager round, what happened next? Like you got in a direct discussion, boss, kitna loge, or what happened after that?
Yeah, so that after that, my notice period was actually getting over. So what happened is, a recruiter contacted me up that, you got selected, manager, you have passed the managerial round, so we are happy to have you. So then the HR round happened about the compensation.
Awesome. So you got, it seems like you got your offer letter very soon, just after completing your HM round.
Yes. So HN round happened, and after like 2-3 working days, I got my offer letter,
Awesome.
and I
So
joined.
it means like if you just raise that concern that my notice period is going over and I have some offer letter, probably these process can be speed up so that you don't have to wait for many weeks in order to get the offer letter. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah,
trick also, it seems like.
yeah. So I guess if your notice period is very less, or or else you are an immediate joiner, then people would prefer you.
Got it. Got it.
That's
So I think we have talked too much into how did you get into, you can say, PayPal, from starting from your multiple resources applying and finally whatnot, right? Cracking,
Mhm.
finally you cracked the interview. Help me, like, what has changed? Like, when you see you came from service-based company to a product-based company, from Public Sapient to basically PayPal, what are the changes that you have seen in terms of maybe the stack or the culture, the kind of challenges, anything that pops up to your mind?
I guess I was fortunate enough to get the latest tech stack in both the companies. Like both the companies were too good with the tech stack when it comes to it. However, the Sapient is basically a services company, so things take some time to get through it. You actually work for a client, so there could be some changes. You need to go through it, and people don't have much of control on that, right? Whereas when once you come into the product-based company, people actually have the ownership of the things, and they have more freedom, flexibility to experiment things up, right? And that's what I have seen. Like in service-based company, what happens is people keep on allocation on the contracts in service companies. People don't stick to one team, right? So there are team changes happening that is there in service company. Whereas in product-based, people actually stick to one team for a longer time, and you actually make people, you actually make good friends with that. Yeah.
That I can totally relate with. Like, you have, like, after your college, you get very good friends basically if you work for a longer duration in your team itself. That I can totally relate with. But one thing, if I have to see, right? So what I have pursued till now and how I have seen the world, most of the time when you work with a service-based company, you try to work on the cool tech stack in order to get your knowledge updated on that stack. But when you work on a product based company, you think more deeper in terms of the product, your user and experience, instead of just thinking about your client, like, will my client be happy with the feature or the capability that I'm building, instead of you start
Yeah.
thinking about your end user. I hope that shift you might have
Totally
seen over
agree
the
with
period
you.
of time.
Totally agree with you. Yes, that is there.
So you're no longer convincing your client, you're convincing your end customer with the product that
And
you're building, and you're thinking about in the right direction, right? So you, great. It seems good, like you're doing started doing justice to the product that are being developed and built. Great. So now it's cool that we came to the companies like PayPal, but just wanted to understand one thing. Like, even it can, you can take example of PayPal or Public Sapient. There is like, there is a different whole journey about, all about, like, the world changes basically when you go into the interview, crack the interview, and the kind of work you do after cracking the interview, there's a drastic shift, right? Different expectations altogether. So do you wanted to, like, highlight or put some light on that and talk about what is that shift, what are the mindset that people should change, where they should not just think about, oh, my target is to how somehow I crack the interview, what happens after that, no one knows about that, right? So something is
Mhm.
also important to keep growing in your company. You cannot keep switching the company after 6 months and one year in order to keep growing, obviously getting 30% hike, right? That won't work.
Yeah, correct.
So what's your
Yeah.
thought on that?
So my thought is basically about what I have seen in shifting from a service to product is basically in service, people don't have much control about the things, right? So you actually have to stick with what are the requirements that you have been given, right? So that's what I have seen in Sapient. And as when it comes to PayPal, it was more of a things that what they actually need to what a user actually needs, right? So that's how we have been building things up over here. So you people are here to open to experiments, right? Like suppose if they want to do stuffs over here, they can do that. So that kind of freedom is actually not there. So that's
Got it. And in terms of the work, basically, when I say the work, say suppose when you were preparing for interview, you were chasing for set of problem statement, right? And now
yes.
when you are working actually in your project, so do you see the drastic shift between the preparation that you did for interview and the kind of work that you are doing right now? There is anything which is overlapping the interview preparation, which is helping your in your current work, or you see, oh, probably processes can be improved on the interview side where you could have asked or people could actually work on the interview process so that you get a direct benefit and you get to know how people work after they join, right? There can be a chance people went and directly went into mug up the very popular interview questions and they cracked the interview round,
Yes.
right? So what's your thought on that?
So I would say there is completely there is a difference. Working with a company and interviewing for the company,
Okay.
right? So like I would say if managing all the user story that has been assigned to you, which things to prioritize, what would be the estimation.
Mhm,
The problem is with estimation also developers actually face. So you need to actually have something that needs to be done for that, right?
mhm,
And how would you do that? And setting up the project from scratch is what they I would say a skill, like how are you setting up the ESLint prettier, the TS config,
mhm.
other stuff like that. The testing configuration, you're setting up the GitHub pipeline. Those things are basically, we can test upon that in the interview also, that do people have any idea about it? If people are interviewing for senior positions, I would say that these are the things that that could be there in the interview, so that there could be a more technical discussion that could happen.
Got it, got it. And probably, as you said, whenever we talk about even the problem statement, making it more realistic with the actual
Mhm.
implementation and feature that it can
Actually,
include to, instead of maybe normally asking, do you know about the closer and how the closer work? Probably, right? It could be
correct.
phrased in a better way in a real implementation where you can actually talk about, do you see somewhere we can use closer or the memoization in order to achieve what we wanted to do, right? Probably the framing of questions, the way we are asking and
The
interviewing,
framing of the
that
question.
could eventually improve so that overall outcome that you see after the interview, you won't get surprised. Ah, this person was super duper rock
Correct.
star in the interview. What happened when he joined the company, right? So that is the most of the pain
Yes.
point when people see as a, especially as a senior, because they don't. And I feel that's why you have those kind of starting not notice periods, like you can be fined basically in starting 2 months or 3 months, right? We call something I so great. I think that that is awesome advice that you have given and you have talked about. Why don't you give your any personal advice to the people who are watching this, like any advice that can help them to not just crack the interviews
Mhm.
but also keep on growing in their career? What do you think?
Yeah, I think for cracking interview is nice, but in order to you, once you have joined the company, you have to actually grow in that role, right? So I would say watching the talks from the conference. There is a channel on the YouTube called Reactify, right? So they keep on posting about the things that are happening around.
Mhm.
And I would say the conference talks are actually very helpful for people, because they are the engineers and developers coming right from the industries, right? And following some tech Twitter people, that would be there. Like I have seen tons of things that I have gained from there, right? And personal recommendations, if you are actually preparing for system designs, would be of course Chakde front-end system design, because
Absolutely.
I have seen type ahead or auto suggestion questions over there, and some config driven UI. So those things actually are, it's actually not available everywhere. Okay, so content is actually very precious. Apart from that, there is a learners bucket YouTube on YouTube. and of course Akshay Shani is there for Namaste JavaScript. So that's all I have actually followed.
Awesome, awesome. So, first of all, thanks a lot for giving those advice, basically, because those are very valuable advice, and that comes from the experience, right? When we are early stage in the career, we just follow, oh, dude, tell me some trick how to get into the company. Rest, I will just see out, figure it out, right? That's what our mind setup is. But eventually, when you grow in your career, you realize, dude, that is not
Mm,
the only thing that you have to do. There are so many other things. Thank you for sharing that. And once again, like Adit, I just wanted to say lot of thanks to come down and talk about your experiences, your journey, and sharing a lot of interesting problem statement with folks. I think this is going to be rockstar, and people are going to love this video, and definitely going to connect with you in order to get lot of advice going forward. So thanks
sure.
a lot, Adit, once again for coming, and see you again with that. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Chirag. Thank you for having me. Thank you.